Hello, good evening, good morning.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Lovely. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Hi, chat. Hello, thanks for being here. I know I scheduled this live like basically 10
3
minutes
seconds
ago.
ago.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of housekeeping things before we get started here. So we're going to review the tweet heard round the world. Julia Long posted on the 23rd. We're going to review that tweet and like the reactions and responses to it in the thread. I am currently dog sitting and I forgot my headset at home. So if the audio sounds different, that's why. Also, because I'm currently dog sitting, you may hear dog sounds in the background. So that's just the way she goes. And also, I'm on a strict time limit for this stream. So what is it? About an hour and a half-ish. We will be cutting off because I have places to be.
Yep. Busy woman.
So yes. So thanks, B. I'm glad I sound fine. Hello, Idora, Miriam, Plumy, Expired Milk, Summer Sun, Julie. Everybody, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Anything to update us on, Rusty?
Not really. It's been pretty cruisy since I last came to the stream.
Good.
I mean, yes, my wife and I are slowly preparing to move into state, but that's like,
Oh, I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not fully. We're looking to move around March next year, so it's still like up in the air. We haven't found a place yet or anything, but that's what we're looking at. So that's mainly what we've been doing. Slowly packing things up, so we're not like blindsided a week before.
Yeah, of course. Oh, actually, wait a second. I feel like I did actually know this. Now that you're saying you're slowly packing up, I feel like you did tell me you were packing.
I might have mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, otherwise pretty cruisy. I mean, we're coming into warmer months, so no more
yes.
jumpers. Yahoo! One blanket
Almost
off the
summer.
bed.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here because I have the Twitter
Yeah.
thread up. So let me adjust so I can see the screen. Oh, maybe I'll. Every single time I stream, I'm like, I should know how to do this.
You're all
Okay.
good.
How's it looking? Okay.
It looks good to me.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Nessa. It is I. Oh, hello.
Yes. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Nessa. Hi, B. Hello. Yes, that's Rusty. She's here. Okay. So Julia Long tweeted on October 23rd. If you're not familiar with the Giselle Pellico case, I don't know how you could not be. Anyway, she posted this link to an article and she tweeted, "Reminder, having relationships with, living with, and marrying men is not inevitable. Other options are available and generally better."
Yep.
How do you feel about that, Rusty?
I mean, water is wet. Bear shit in the woods. Don't live with men.
Right.
Obviously, putting no blame on Giselle. Obviously,
yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Shockingly, Expired Milk has not heard of this case. It's horrifying.
Oh, geez.
I streamed about it a couple days ago, so you could check that out, Expired Milk, if you want to. But I'll just sum it up quickly. This woman, Giselle, in France, her husband spent a decade drugging her to make her unconscious to invite men to rape her.
Yeah, and film
Horrifying.
it. Yeah.
That's the summary.
There's over 90 men in the case, isn't there?
Yeah, and they're currently all on trial right now in France.
Yeah.
So Julia tweeted this. She also followed it up with, well, let's see. "In the face of the horrendous violence this woman's husband perpetrated and organized against her over decades, I think a reminder that living with men is not inevitable is highly pertinent." He's now her ex-husband, of course, so she's clearly reached the same conclusion.
Yeah, which is very, very good.
So some replies to the thread. J.K. Rowling chimed in.
Yes, thank you, Queen.
She said, well, She said, telling raped heterosexual women they should have made better life choices is usually the
Ooh.
province of deeply unpleasant and dangerous men. But you consider it a feminist take, do you?
I mean, I guess J.K. Rowling does have a husband. Uh, Unfortunate queen.
Yeah, exactly,
Because
Julie.
that is absolutely not what she's saying.
Thank you, Rusty. Thank
Like
you.
it is a very common projection of male partnered women to do this. It's like you say, you know, it is definitely safest to not partner with men. So what are you saying? I deserve it? It's my fault? Well, no, of course not.
No,
It's just safer. You know, it's like you are less likely to die if you don't drink under the influence of alcohol and drive. Well, what are you saying? I deserve to die? No, I'm saying you'll be safer if you don't. This
correct.
woman has gone through like such. I can't even imagine how she feels, and like the
Yeah.
fact that she's going to these court trials and she has greenlit these videos being played in the courtroom to indict them. And like I can't imagine how she feels, but it's just like I'm like the only logical thing I feel like can be taken away from what has happened to her is like it can be any man. There were 90 men in her area, like within whatever driving distance or whatever, willing to come and do this. What does that say? And they, you know, they were teachers, they were journalists, they were nurses, they were whatever. It's you cannot tell good men. So why would we want to see more women subjecting themselves to this to suffer again, possibly as badly as this poor woman, you know? Like, is it not feminist to not want more women to suffer like this? Is it not feminist to want women to be safe? You know, the separatist argument comes from a deep love and care of women, of like just absolute exhaustion and understanding that you know, whether you make the argument that men are biologically imposed, like predisposed to violence against women, or whether they choose to do it and they just don't want to change, the fact of the matter is they won't change. We can't change our like their actions. We can only change our actions. And why wouldn't we make our actions preventative to limit the amount of horror that they can commit to us? It makes sense to me. You know,
agreed. Joan is here, and I invited Joan to join us tonight because she's had some great takes on this whole thing, but she's at a wedding, so everybody bully Joan to enjoy the wedding.
Yeah, go enjoy the wedding, loser. Go have fun, idiot.
Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciated that Julia said, like, except I didn't do that. Like, yeah. So let's look at some of the other replies. Like, Les Capugliata is a pretty, she is a pretty prominent feminist on Twitter. People pretty much know her. She says, I think it is important that girls and young women are aware that there are alternatives to live in heterosexual relationships, or at least to not rush into them due to all the common dangers of male violence. That doesn't mean denying heterosexuality. There are parts of the world where women have isolated enclaves because men have become too unmanageable.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. There is
and
some
it's just like I guess, and that's even like pretty softballed because she's saying like, you know, or at least not rush into things. Right. But like Giselle was married for how many years? Like 50 years. Like she's in her 70s, isn't she?
Yeah, they were married, I think, over 50 years.
Yeah, and then he started I mean, I'm sure there was other things because he got caught because he was taking upskirt videos. So like obviously this proclivity didn't just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it's just also, like 50 years of marriage. And,
the other thing that
he did it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut
you could.
The other thing is like people are like, this isn't about Giselle. Like it's just like it's about women in general, and it just so happens that this is the thing that's in the news right now. But like, there's some pretty bad takes in this thread, like we see here. Like Jennifer Gingrich says, like it or not, most people are heterosexual, and the human drive to share life with someone to whom you can be sexually attracted is not going to disappear, nor should it be treated as if abuse is the inevitable consequence for it.
Well, that's all well and good, but that's you know, if every man would just stop raping, like that's you don't get to make political practice off. Well, if everyone just, because no one is just gonna everyone just, Like
Right.
men have had millennia to not do that, but they benefit from it. They like it. They
Hmm.
like, there are, and not all men, okay, not all men enjoy raping women, but they certainly enjoy the benefits they get of being one of the quote unquote good ones that don't do it. Was look at him not raping any women. Isn't he so great? Like,
Mm.
that's the bar, you know. Or even the men being like celebrated. Well, they turned down the offer. Aren't they good?
Like, but did they report it?
Yeah,
No.
no, of course not. Of course not.
This take from Rachel. Wow, bad take. I could have had the absolute worst relationship in the past with a man, but I still wouldn't choose a woman for the
Ugh.
next relationship. It doesn't work like that.
The way they always think that we're asking them to choose lesbianism, which you can't fucking do, instead
Right.
of just like, it's like, do you not realize that you can live a life full and flourishing without romance? It's just like, you've been single for years and you're very happy, you know? Like, you're
Yeah.
not seeking a female partner, or you're not seeking any partner, but obviously you're a lesbian, so you'd be seeking
Yeah.
one, but you're like living a very happy single life, and there's plenty of lesbians who do that. It's just like, it's yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a
Well,
cop
and
out.
the thing is whenever you bring up like separatist discussions, the immediate thing is like, oh my God, you expect me to live a life without love and companionship? And it's like, how many lesbians do you think live that life? A fucking
Yeah.
lot of us, because there's not very many of us.
Yeah,
Like,
you just sort of accept that the dating pool is small.
yes.
And for lots of lesbians, it's not safe. They live in a country where it's fucking illegal. They don't have they're financially dependent on a family that wouldn't allow them to do that, or they just straight up don't want to date. They
Mhm.
don't need it.
Yeah.
The whole living alone with cat, you don't want to be a crazy old cat lady. That's fucking propaganda. Or that one where it's what is this, like, at 15 a little pet, at 20 a little
Mhm.
coquette, at 40 not married yet, at 50 a suffragette. It's just like they want to push this propaganda of like, oh, you don't want to be one of those women who live alone and enjoys things and doesn't have fucking kids running around, and one of the kids is
Mhm.
her husband because he fucking sucks. You don't want
Mhm.
that. You want the kid husband. You want that. Please, 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 please don't run away, women.
Yeah. Summer says one particular irksome response to Julia's tweet suggested that if women forego relationships with men, they are being condemned to a life of masturbation and loneliness. But what if there aren't enough good men to go around, which seems a
Mm-hmm.
given? I'd rather be lonely and safe than abused and or 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Good point, Summer. Great comment.
Yeah, even if you're going with the lonely, you'll be destitute and lonely and unfulfilled. It's just like, isn't that still better than being abused?
Hmm.
Than like fucking rolling the die, playing Russian roulette. Except there's no blank chamber. Like, the last chamber is just like a slow acting poison. He's the good one, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Let's see. Holly Becker says, not her fault for getting married to a man she loved, especially since he was also a good husband to her while she was awake. Ugh. She didn't know he was a monster until she fell asleep. Like, duh. And
Mm,
Julia herself replied, of course it's not her fault. I never suggested
mm.
for a moment it was. But her horrific experiences, alongside those of so many other women I've heard and read about, is a salutary reminder of the dangers of living with men.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Why, is it not smart to just treat it as a cautionary tale of like, my
Mhm.
God, let us try and minimize the chance that this can ever happen again by
Yeah.
separating from men as much as possible, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. Um, More rage here. Women, if this happens
Mm,
to you, you've only yourself to blame. That's literally not what was being said.
yeah.
Um, Lady of Lesbos, I had a little bit of a back and forth with her about this in a positive way. She wrote,
Mm,
I'm so tired of women being at each other's throats so easily over defending men and heterosexual coupling. Like, you couldn't possibly live without a man. Like, taking the incredible risk is somehow worth it. I'm begging these women to look up the Korean 4B movement.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh, Lilith Sage in the comments. I noticed something that women will celebrate young women choosing themselves and single lives, but if a lesbian even suggests it, these same women will lose
Ah,
their minds. Yeah, it happens all the fucking time.
Lilith,
My
perfect. point. Actually, I want to mention also something that Joan of Arc said in my DMs about that perfectly couples what Lilith said. Joan said, let me find it. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
She said, something along those lines. I can't find it exactly.
It's just someone's username, plumply me.
Oh yeah, Joan of
not the saint herself.
Not the real
saint herself coming back from the grave to weigh in. By the way,
yeah, I have a personal psychic connection with the canonized saint.
Yeah.
Anyway, she said something along the lines of like, yeah, it depends on the woman who is saying it. Like, if you, I'm paraphrasing, but she said something like, if you like the woman who is saying the separatist stuff, then you'll tend to be a little bit more positive about it versus if you don't. And it's like,
Yeah.
Good.
It was fascinating. My wife and I, we recently went up to a gathering for my mother's 60th, and it was full of women that she'd known throughout her life. And so we were about the youngest by, 40 years, and they were all straight women. And it was amazing how they could all talk. I think only one of them had a male partner at this point. All of the others were divorced. And it's amazing how they could like hang shit on men. And, they're just good for nothing. It's just not worth it. Why get something that can just, what does he do? Mow the lawn or whatever. I can do all that myself, blah, blah, blah. And then, yes, I was like, ooh, this might be a good time to just like slip in a little bit of separatist discussion. I was just like, yeah, I think all women should not date men. And then it immediately changed because, I'm an out lesbian with my wife next to me. And it was very interesting also them like condemning marriage in general, like, oh, it's so bad. And we're just like, yes, we are happily married of nearly 7 years. And we don't have those problems because we're not male. And as soon as I chimed in and said, yeah, it's probably best to just like have as little to do with men as possible. And they're like, oh, but we're not saying it in a man-hating way. I'm not a man-hater. And, and there are some good men and my son and my brother and blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, until the lesbians spoke up, all these straight women were quite happy to like hang shit on men. So it's very interesting to see it happen in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. So here's one from me. So Cliff wrote, your pal has insinuated in the past that women allow themselves to be in abusive relationships because they are weak and make poor choices. So I guess this is on brand for POW as Party of Women. It's the political party she belongs to. Your party is actually worse on women's issues than WEP. Don't know what that means. Impressive stuff. And I said, no one said they should or can become lesbians. As an actual lesbian, I vehemently abhor political lesbian shit. But women can choose to be free of men and find fulfillment in their hobbies, their friendships, etc.
I think it really demonstrates just how cemented they are in the mindset that like you have to date somebody to be happy. So if you're saying don't date men, they're like, oh, what do you want me to be, a fucking lesbian? It's like, no. You can have happiness outside of romantic relationships. You've watched too many Disney films.
There's more to life than like serving a man. Like, imagine all of the time you would have for hobbies or learning a new skill or a language or taking some educational classes or traveling or whatever, if you weren't tied down to a man. Ooh, good point here. I think an important reminder is that lesbian has been a very old insult toward women too. Outside of actual homosexuality, it was a scarecrow used to keep women in line. So
yeah, you don't want to be one of those.
Says the same thing. That old scarecrow rises up their subconsciousness.
Yeah, they don't want to be associated because that's the worst thing that you could be. Lesbian.
Yeah, exactly.
Awful.
Let's see here. For fuck's sake, fuck. Julie's not berating anyone, just pointing out a generally less dangerous alternative for consideration. The West 4B movement chimed in.
I mean, they're right.
Yep.
Yeah, I even like all the capitals. I mean, my God.
Yeah. Lots of like snark really in the replies, like be celibate your whole life. Yeah, that's a realistic piece of advice for women.
What the fuck is this shit? For fuck's sake. Not all men are bad. My Nigel. That's how I read it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the replies about not all men, of course. This is good. Just want to say that I'm shocked to see so many decent women trying to spin your clear observation as victim blaming. It's simply letting women know that we can choose to be single or live with friends instead of in a marriage with a man. Yes, it would be great to say just pick a good one, but this case demonstrates that strategy doesn't always work. Survivors of men's domestic violence against women torture ourselves with questions about if we could have known. There is no way to know. I'm happy when a woman tells me that her Nigel is one of the good ones, but we know that's not always the case. I'd
We
also
know
like
it's
to add
always
on
not
to
the
this,
case.
where she says, I'm happy when a woman tells me her Nigel is one of the good ones, until he isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I never believe that. I don't. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm glad you're safe for now, but I don't trust that man as far as I
Right?
can throw him.
Like
Yeah.
every single woman who has ever been abused or murdered by a male partner believed that he was a good and decent and loving and kind person,
hmm It's
right?
almost like, their claims of victim blaming when you say, okay, well, it's probably safer to not be with men in the future. You're saying, if you're saying this to a woman who suffer violence, yeah, you don't have to be with men anymore. You don't have to pick a good one. Whereas they're sort of saying, like, well, you just have to pick a good one. Well, you just have to dress correctly. Well, you just shouldn't have been drinking. Does that not more align with that victim blaming kind of thing? Well, they're selling them a lie that it is the onus is on them to pick a better one, rather
Yeah.
than we're sort of removing the blame. It's like, there's nothing you could have done. Men are shit, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Let's see. There's a response to that I replied to, and okay, yeah. So just a minute, I might have to share my other screen now. Let's see if I can do it this way.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, so yeah, I had said we already looked at my tweet, but then someone replied to me saying, and now taking into account that heterosexual women have sex drives and enjoy sex with men instead of presuming that we just exist to service men sexually with no desires of our own, like how misogynists view us.
It's like, I know that you want to fuck men, because otherwise why would women do it in spite of all the evidence against men's humanity? I'm very aware that you're sexually attracted to them and you enjoy sex, but you can learn to masturbate.
Yeah.
Shrug.
To this, I replied using a Rustyism.
Nice.
I said, listen, if you want to live in the bear forest where bears are known for eating people, okay. You don't deserve to get eaten, but in the bear forest, it may happen. I'm just saying you can live across the river away from the bear forest, but no one's ready for you here, though.
Yeah, I remember when I said that to you.
That's Rusty's analogy. Okay, so then the OP or Shambu replied, she said, whoops. She said, yes, but women don't want to have sex with bears or have relationships
Oh
with
my
bears or
god.
children with bears, do we? So this is a ridiculous comparison, and you demean yourself by pretending it's an acceptable thing to suggest.
Did she not see the whole man versus bear thing where all the
Right.
women are like, yeah,
Right.
I would rather be in alone with the forest with a bear, not because they want to fuck the bear, but because
Right.
it's safer. Oh my god, this is
But
so, she's taking it so literally.
I
My
know.
god.
I was kind of proud of my somewhat snarky reply, though.
Oh, show me.
I said, women want to have sex with men who beat, rape, gaslight, manipulate, and murder them. I'd argue choosing a man is worse. At least the bear doesn't know better.
Yeah, the bear is not choosing to eat you out of like, I hate this woman, I hate all women, I want to
Right.
see her suffer. It's thinking, me hungry, me bear, me eat. Me full
Exactly.
now. Like, there's even a chance it won't eat you if it ate someone else earlier.
Right?
It
Ugh.
can be quenched.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bear, like Plum Plumey said, a bear would eat a man or woman the same, wouldn't discriminate. Just if
Mm,
hungry, bear eat. You know?
yeah. Let's see. I wonder if there's anything. Oh, not all men are bad. Oh, we looked at that one.
hmm
Bad take. Oops, what's going on here? I like the idea of living in a female community, like a nunnery without the religion, maybe. Ooh, good comment from Summer Sun here. Women seem determined to underestimate the danger men pose to us. What planet are they living on? Not the same one as I am.
One with their heads in the sand,
Yeah.
where apparently all the good Nigels are.
Uh, I know your intentions were not to speak down to women no matter their sexuality. Unfortunately, it definitely is coming across that way to many. Okay, I want to jump off on this here. The thing
Mm-hmm.
that is driving me crazy about this thread so much is the absolute complete lack of any kind of class solidarity among women here. This is
Mm-hmm.
entirely not all of the responses in here are not having any sort of class consciousness about what is good for women as a whole. It's all about, oh, you want me to do this? Oh, you expect me to do that? Oh, me.
Mm-hmm.
No solidarity or class consciousness at all. None.
Nope. You want me to be unhappy? It's like, no, I want less women to be raped. So not only are you saving yourself, or you're certainly lowering the risk. Lowering the risk for yourself, you are lowering the risk for all women you bring your Nigel, or you would have brought your Nigel into contact with. You know, he's not just your Nigel. We have to be around him too. And, you know, because women are more likely to prioritize, like, you know, I think we've all had friends where, like, they get a boyfriend and then, like, he's their whole world. Friendships die because he's in it. So it's just like, you're going to choose him over us. So, like, you're in a compromised state because you are romantically involved with him. So you have stronger feelings for him than you do your friends who are women. And you're putting them in danger. Whose side are you going to pick when he makes a pass at one of your friends, or does something creepy to one of your friends, or, you know, one of your friends' daughters? You are more likely to choose him just from your, like, misogynistic conditioning. So, you know, it's not just me, my boyfriend, wah. It's like, yeah, we have to be around him too. And we don't want to.
Yeah. Ooh, good one here from Miriama. Het women seem to be at a crossroads where they lack agency and have to be with males, but their choice is feminist. Pickle plot line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Giselle said in court this week to the women who kept coming to defend the rapists of their families that she thought she had a good and wonderful, caring man with her. Of course. And again, okay,
Yeah.
so that's like, that relates to this tweet from Mary Legio Ross. I understand what you're saying, or you're trying to say, but for young heterosexual women, the other options are not better. No one goes into a marriage, heterosexual or not, thinking their partner will become a monster. That's the point. Of course, no one goes into it. But when you're going into a marriage or partner, quote unquote, partnership with a man, the chances of something being monstrous is significantly higher than if you don't.
And yet, how is that not a better option? It's just like risk being trapped in the same home as a potential racist. Live alone. Live with other women platonically. You know.
Heavy Lies the Crown says, I'd hardly let such a unique case, men raping women is unique.
Yeah,
Put me
90
off
men.
all men. That's extreme. I'm quite happy with my husband, thanks, as are all my friends with theirs. And so was Giselle. And so was
what
every
about
other
all the
woman.
what about the 90 men in this case who likely all had loving, you know, wives or girlfriends or whatever?
And not only those men in this case, but their female partners speaking to the media saying they stand by him because he's a good man.
Yeah.
No,
It's
he's
just like,
not.
Yeah. So it's like the definition of good man is quite muddy. And it's about as useful as the definition of a true unicorn because it's not real.
Purple Moonstorm says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. These women arguing against 4B must be insane. They keep getting with men and expecting different results. Yeah. This is exactly why I'm not a feminist. What the hell kind of disgraceful comment is this? Which options?
Not dating men.
Living with your female friends or relatives, traveling, having hobbies.
Yeah, having a fulfilling career that you get to decide completely on your own and doesn't have to be compromised by a man.
Are you insane? This was her husband, not all men. But like all of the men who
90 men in her area.
Right. And they're all like, most of them are somebody's husband also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single man who abuses a woman, whether that be emotionally, physically, or sexually, is somebody's husband, brother, son,
Mm-hmm.
grandson, grandfather, dad. Like,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
ugh.
It's
There's also the 15 cat option.
exactly 15 cat, big dog. You know.
Oh, Sasha Graham is so great. So we don't want to be separatists, you fucking loon. Also, note the rad femme in bio.
Oh, disgraceful.
Men are
Disgraceful. Take that turf out of your bio. You don't deserve to be
right.
seen as a misandrist.
And then
Poser.
Sasha, the separatist, who is awesome. If you don't follow her, you should. Nobody said you want to be anything. Male supremacists and traditionalists will always exist. That doesn't mean everyone else should just shut up and put up with it. What you want is not the default for everyone else, and other women have a right to know they have options.
It's like, if you don't want it, then look away.
Yeah.
Other women are allowed to be convinced by the message, I suppose, or consider it.
Yeah. Okay. So I also wanted to look at, because Julia Long posted a follow-up thread today.
Mm.
I think we should look at that too. So let's get that up. Ooh. So Julia, it's kind of a long thread, but I think it's important because she has good
Mm-hmm.
points.
Mm-hmm.
She says, now that the dust has settled and things have calmed down a bit, I do want to say a few things about my post the other day and what impelled me to write it. As we all have, I have been following the case in France with horror verging on incredulity at what this man and all these other men did to Giselle Pellicot. I hate even referring to her using that rapist surname, but to just say Giselle sounds overly familiar and disrespectful. I haven't been on Twitter much lately and haven't posted much recently, but when I read that article that I shared, I was, like all of us, I'm sure, filled with rage and sorrow at what this woman has had to endure, along with admiration for her courage and especially for the sheer succinct brilliance of her determination that shame must change sides. I guess for all of us, that rage and sorrow takes different forms. For me, I have spent many years now hearing and reading about men's unceasing and often unimaginably sadistic violence against women. At one point, for a conference on Andrew Dworkin, I even read a bit of de Sade, the Marquis de Sade, don't advise. I couldn't continue, and even now, the little that I did read sticks in my mind with any unbearable sadness that a man could imagine torturing women like that. Anyway. In the past, however many years, I have listened to women talk about how pornography has impacted their lives. I have read hundreds of reports of men killing their wives, their partners, their ex-partners, women they have just met, their mothers, their grandmothers. On a daily basis at the moment, my work involves reading and processing documents relating to women at risk of hospitalization or death by the men they are married to, separated from, partnered with, or gave birth to. I'm not alone in this. Lots of us do this kind of work. In the past week, I was listening to testimonials of women about the effect of their partner's porn use on them, just for a break from work. Anyway, it's all pretty gut-wrenching stuff. By the time I read the article about Giselle Pellicot, I was thoroughly heartsick with it all. One of the things that strikes me in all of the many articles I read in the media and discussions I've listened to in work, at conferences, etc., is how it is just presumed to be inevitable that women will have relationships with men and live with men, no matter how appallingly men treat us. Yeah. When people want to talk about like compet, that would be like what that means, right? Like it's just assumed
Yes.
that's going to be what's our life.
Yeah, you think it's compulsory to live heterosexually,
Right.
in a nuclear family coupling. Certainly a lot better than what it was actually penned to mean.
Great. Existential gamer. The only reason he was caught was because he got caught taking creep shots. No man turned him in. Right.
And again, it's just like, it's not just the abuse of his wife. He crept outwards. It wasn't enough to satiate him to do all those heinous things to his wife. He had to bring
Mhm.
other women into it too. And so will your Nigels, you know? Like,
So Julia says, all these other remedies are suggested, but what to me is the most obvious one is not only never mentioned, it is completely taboo. Separatism. When I worked on a research project documenting men's violence against women and said that I thought a desirable outcome for the project would be fewer women living with men, it was met with rictus grins, an uncomfortable silence, and, when I was out of the room, lots of concern that such a project couldn't be seen to be endorsing things like that.
the horror.
So it strikes me that when we think about men's violence against women, we are talking about a few narrowly defined and predetermined and approved options as to how we respond to it. The sets of recommendations you see at the end of reports, none of which, frankly, I feel amount to anything much in the face of what we are talking about. So she says, anyway, it strikes me that we live in a very socially conservative times where some of the most important insights of the women's liberation movement have been lost. Right, like the women of the 60s and 70s. I have been fortunate enough to know and learn from women who are very much involved in the women's liberation movement and to have read books written by women, lesbian feminists, which has exposed me to so many ideas and possibilities. To me, it is urgent that I share some of those insights because I absolutely believe they are our only hope to transform our own lives and the lives of women around us. I don't do this enough and I am frustrated by this. But when I read that article about Giselle Pellico, my impulse was to shout to other women. And I know there are so many women trapped in awful situations with men, not even those that would be recognized as abusive, but just where they are not seen, valued, or loved, to shout out to those women. You don't have to stay there. You can get out. She says it was in a clumsy and inarticulate way, no doubt. I
I
don't really
disagree.
agree.
I
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah, I think
It
she
was
spoke
very
fine.
clear. I think she's understandably probably trying to placate all the women crying and
Right.
wiping their eyes with their fucking stinky boyfriends.
Yeah. So she says, anyway, that was what impelled my comment. As I've already said, it was directed to any woman reading who might appreciate that kind of reminder. It did not in a million years occur to me that anyone would think I was directing it at Giselle Pellico. Like, for real. Yeah. The
And
only
she
message.
divorced her husband.
Right.
She left.
She did what Julia is advising.
I
So,
think
like,
she should have had a free pass to fucking kill him, to be honest. But
I
and
agree.
every man, but like she literally left. She is following the advice that wasn't even directed at her because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. She didn't need to apologize. For real.
No, she didn't say anything wrong. It's very clear. Very, very clear.
Yeah, and Maria says, I've yet to talk to a woman who has had no SA or harassment on some level.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like what's that quote? I don't know who said it or who coined it, but sure, not all men, but all women have been hassled by a man.
All
So
women
yeah,
have been harassed. Enough men have done the harassing. Not
yeah,
all men,
exactly.
but enough.
Yeah. I replied to her, La Scapigliata did this one, hot chai. Just say you're sorry for saying something stupid and move on. We don't need a hefty diatribe defending yourself. Like,
yeah, you just want groveling. We know. You just want people to grovel and agree, like, you're right, queen. You're so brave for having a boyfriend. Just keep it up. Maybe this one for sure.
I know. I'm so like,
the fucking flagrant disrespect. Like, she has gone out of her way to detail something that should not be needed to explain. It's like she's leaning down to a bunch of stupid fucking toddlers. And, you know, trying to tell them with the building blocks. And it's just like, no. Wham. Like,
I like this dichotomy here. We've got Lilith saying it's not all men, but it's most men. And then Mariama immediately, it's all males.
Thank you. I love the dog icon as well, like the side eye.
Let's see. A little bit turfy says, I, for one, read it exactly the way you intended, Julia. And anyone who knows anything about you would know that blaming an unconscious woman for the depraved actions of her filthy husband and other worthless men would be the last thing you would ever do. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Uh, your post was full of horror at men's violence against women and deep and abiding love for women. I'm so sorry it made your day unpleasant. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just, anytime you talk about separatism, this is what happens.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very disheartening, particularly, yeah, with all the usernames that, like, you know, like with Turf, and it's just like, oh, JK, come on. I mean, I know she's not perfect. She doesn't have perfect opinions on everything. I automatically want to think Queen when she's going to say something. I'm like, God damn it. That's right.
I
She has a
know.
husband.
Let's actually, let me just readjust this. Oops. Let's see if JK said anything else.
I mean, she has been reading and learning. You can always, you know.
I guess not. October 20. Oh, maybe let's look at her replies, not her. Doesn't look like she did follow up. That's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. I know in another tweet somewhere, Julie mentioned something, how it's really unfortunate that somebody with 14 million followers would come at her. Meaning, okay. Yeah, I mean, none of us are perfect, and we're all going to say things that, you know.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, like, JK wears makeup. JK has a husband. Like,
Yeah,
she's certainly
she's
on
just,
the. Yeah, she's just a feminist, and she, you know, she is doing other feminist action. Obviously, like, she's funding rape
Yeah.
relief in a way that a lot of us can't. Like, she's putting her money where her mouth is, but it is unfortunate.
Mariama, can you read the the answer to male violence comment? Was that on JK's thread?
I think it might have been.
Let's see. These are retweets. Is it this one? Which one? Which
Julie
one?
says it looks like JK doubled down. How disappointing.
I know.
Yeah, JK is on the lib fem spectrum.
But she knows
Yeah.
what a woman is. Yeah.
Mm.
It was in, the mega thread. Oh, well, if it was in the mega thread, it should be also in her own reply section when I'm not seeing it anywhere.
I don't know how Twitter works. You're doing hocus
I'm
pocus
sorry.
magic to me.
When the OP explained herself.
Oh.
I'll see if I can find it. No promises. Oh yeah,
yes,
of course. Still learning for JK.
Yeah, it's much harder to peak men than it is to peak trans.
Yeah.
One requires a lot less unpacking of societal bias, and the other one's just like, well, yeah, a man is a man. Doy.
Oh, it was in the mega thread, the usual argument of women not involving themselves with men being framed as the cause of the downfall of society. What? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mirama. I wish I could find it or I knew where it was. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's another thing that they always jump to is like, oh, but the species. And it's like every single species that has ever existed on Earth has gone extinct. And every single species that currently exists on Earth will go extinct.
And
that's
the thing is, because like, the thing is, like, that's such like huge thinking, but it's just like, even if you bring it back down to like, if every woman, like, if only women who truly wanted to, within their own choice, no male influence, if only they were having children and no women had children, why should the species continue? Yeah. If it has to be propped up on the rape and subjugation of women, why is that? Why should it be? Yeah.
Yep. Agree. Oof. Moral of the story, let's all be fish. Okay, but yeah, also going back to the species stuff, like for me, I'm fine with humans no longer existing. Like,
yeah, you're quite nihilistic in that sense.
Well, it's just like I would rather no woman ever be abused again and us go extinct than one more woman be abused. Like,
Yeah.
and we're going to go extinct eventually anyway. So like,
it sort of just harkens back to like women being responsible for like society. Like it's just like we're all one big, mummy system. And they can't let that go, Women must suffer, and we got to stand on their backs for whatever things to exist. And you see that in smaller pockets of just like when people say, well, if prostitutes didn't exist, so women that we could subjugate and pay to rape, then other women we'd have to rape you other women. So we need these women to suffer, otherwise society will just collapse.
Yeah,
like it's the same thinking for all those things,
Yeah. Okay, well, Rusty, talk, because I have to let these dogs in.
Yeah, no worries. Very good to see how many of you ladies have come to agree. I was actually ready for some like angry comments, because I get them a lot, doing the comic I do and being very outwardly spoken about like, I'm not going to show any positive heterosexual relationships in my art because it's bad, and I don't want to create any more propaganda that uplifts men's humanity, because there's enough of it. Makes people very upset. So it's very comforting to see how many smart women are here today.
I just found in the thread somebody mentioned above here, Purple Moonstorm mentioned Rush Babe 49's comment, so I went looking for it. It's a man.
Yeah.
So
you got to fucking say?
So somebody said, so what is the solution you propose other than we continue being abused? And he said, recognize an abusive relationship and press charges. Too many women stay in abusive situations rather than leave.
Or press charges to all the men that run law enforcement.
Right. Like the problem is
good job, mate.
The problem is not that women stay in abusive relationships and don't leave and don't press charges. The problem is that men abuse women.
Yeah, he's foistering it on to women. Well, you should have done this. Nope. You should have killed yourself. You should have made yourself a male suicide statistic. Make yourself useful. The only useful male feminist is a dead one. Yeah, Giselle pressed charges, and she's being still like, there's lawyers against her who are defending these men.
A woman was killed last week after pressing charges against her ex 22 times.
Sally was beaten versus John beat Sally. Yes.
Exactly. The passive language. Not all men. Yeah, exactly.
Not all men. My Nigel. Where?
Yeah, I said it earlier tonight, but like all of the women who have been beaten, abused by men think not their man. Their man is nice. Their man loves them. Their man wouldn't. All of the women who have suffered at the hands of men thought that about the man who hurt them. Like there's no way to...
Women are not the issue. It's men. And we can't change them. We cannot convince them to change. We cannot compel them to change because they do not want to. They like it. Whether they're biologically predisposed or they've grown a taste for it, whatever it is that you believe, I don't believe it actually matters which side of the argument you fall on. I see lots of women argue about it. Doesn't matter. Men are still doing it.
Right.
Whether or not they can change is not the point. They won't. They don't want to. They've proven it. So there's no changing them. All we can change is our own actions.
Right. And okay, this is great too. Pressing charges is not enough, and it means nothing if the justice system goes against them. Correct. And also, the most dangerous time for a woman in a violent relationship is when she chooses to leave.
Yeah, because you think he's just going to be like, okay, I understand now. She didn't like it when I beat her because she left. I'm going to be very calm about this. Yeah.
Let's talk about Maria's question here. Where does that come from, by the way? Anyone know who's Nigel?
I think it was just a male place name. for people like you be like, not my husband, not my son, not my whatever. So it's just like a catch-all. It can be any
my
man. And I don't
Nigel
know.
would never do that. So
Yeah,
it's
my
just,
dear Nigel.
yeah. So Nigel just means like a man in a woman's life
All
who she
men.
believes would never,
Yeah.
never, ever.
Her darling
do
Nigel.
anything bad.
Oh, yeah, I don't like it when straight women do it and they're in relationships and they call it. I'm like, you're acknowledging it, but you're still dating him.
Oh, Leptoceratops. Hi. I feel like I haven't seen you around in a long time. Welcome back. It's nice to see you.
No, Mary.
What?
Oh,
have mercy. No.
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 No. Absolutely not. Because in that context, isn't that word like, because you're using the A and not the ER, isn't that like a compliment? But it's just anything. I've noticed on Tumblr they've replaced Nigel with Jakey. Not my Jakey. Because I think it started when someone was like, I hate it when people tag my post about lesbianism with like, this is me, but with my Jakey. And someone else was like, I hope Jakey dies.
Let's see. I think I found an article. Maybe we can look at. I'll share my screen. Bear with me.
Yeah, Nigel sounds more like a husband, but Nigel can be like anything. Like he can be a
Well,
son.
I think the name Nigel. I think the name Nigel was. I mean, I have no idea, but I think maybe it's like that's such like a non-threatening man name, like Nigel.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why. Okay.
Yeah, and so he can be any, like, you know, not my little Nigel, or not my dear Nigel, or I've known Nigel for years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I?
Because some head women on Tumblr claim that Jakey and Nigel are like slurs.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Boy. So I found this. I just Googled "Not My Nigel." Welcome back again, Joan. Hi.
Ayo.
Oh, Mariana. Hi. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Nice to see you as well. Oh yeah, Venice Allen. Actually, I don't know what her Twitter is, but she did have a funny reply to this whole thing.
Not my Nigel day.
It's in my timeline.
Isn't every day not my Nigel day?
I love that Summer is telling me I can find this tweet in my own timeline. Thank you so much.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Let me find it.
No, Mariama, no! No!
I'm just not even. I'm so sorry, but I can't. Oh, yeah.
No.
Venice Allen tweeted, "Nobody warned me it was International Not My Nigel Day today," on the day that Julia posted this, and everyone freaked out. Okay, anyway, let's look at this. What do you mean by "Not My Nigel"? So, let's see. Like any other field of debate or controversy, a lot of issues and positions in feminism end up being so often that they are abbreviated for convenience. "Not My Nigel" is shorthand for a common defensive reaction of many women to feminist observations and explanations of widespread sexist activity or sexist motivations, which is that, while certainly some other men are oppressively sexist, their particular partners, sons, fathers, brothers couldn't possibly be part of the problem. Not my Nigel. He'd never do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where it came from. Or that's what it is kind of about. Boy.
Gigi, I don't know about that. I understand straight women when they say it's an anti-feminist response, so just let them live with the consequences of their actions. Some women who continue partnering with men are biologically insane. I don't know. I think they're just, the misogynistic brainwashing is very strong. And I think that's antithetical to feminism, to be like, well, you reap what you sow. I mean, at some point, we can't save every woman. We can't convince every woman. These women are probably going to go on to be harmed by men in their life. But the thing is just like, well, just, let them. Like, the whole point of feminism is like, well, we'll still be here when that does happen. you know, because we genuinely don't believe that they deserve it.
Yeah. Many women's first encounter with misogyny came from their own dad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. 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 Joan, this was what I was trying to talk about earlier, but I couldn't exactly find your message, Joan. The aspect of the whole 48 hours I'm most interested in is the side taking based on who likes Julia Long and who likes Kelly J. Keane. That
I
is
don't know
interesting. Yes.
who the other one is. Is that
Kelly J.
one of the
Keane is
responses
Posey
we read?
Parker.
Oh.
That's her real name, Kelly J. Keane.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I don't know a lot about her. I know she's kind of divisive, but she has like the Let Women Speak podcast. Yes, maybe.
Yeah, that's her.
But she's like again more like trans critical.
Oh yeah, she's not
still,
a feminist, and she explicitly says she's not a feminist. And
yeah, okay. Well, then there you go.
Fairly conservative.
Mm.
Let's see. Yeah, women I work with talk about almost nothing except men and relationships. Ugh. Just kind of expected that you have a boyfriend or husband. Yes, I found that as well when I worked. My previous job to what I currently have, I worked exclusively with a staff of women, straight women. I was the only non-straight woman. And yeah, I totally understand how that goes.
Yeah, it can be very isolating.
Presently surprised by KJK's response to this. I'll go and look for it.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Let's see. I saw Mariana asked about, is anyone afraid of this upcoming U.S. election? It's in just a few days.
Please vote for Kamala Harris. Please, please, please. I've been seeing so much, even like in rad spaces where they're like, yeah, well, she doesn't support like these issues, so we should vote Trump instead. It's like, you people are fucking crazy. He also supports like, I think the biggest one has been that she's taken a pretty like politically correct approach on like the Palestine versus Israel. So she hasn't been particularly supportive of Gaza. So it's like people are like, well, for that reason, we're not going to vote for it. It's like, but you realize that Trump is also like a Zionist. Like he also supports Israel. So like voting for him isn't going to be any better. And also like women are going to suffer in America too. So it's just like more suffering.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah. Yeah, it's like a flawed woman versus a convicted felon and rapist. Like that's, and the woman is, people are still like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, at least she didn't rape someone. The bar is in hell.
It's just like, and that's, obviously a flaw in the two-party system. It would be great if you'd be like, nah, throw both of them out. Let's pick someone good, but that's not how it works. So it's just, it's very interesting to watch, like the American voting system, because I don't know how it is in Canada, but voting is mandatory here. You have to do it or you receive a fine, but it's also very easy to do. So when you turn 18 here, you get a letter from the government. They're like, hey, you got to vote. Here's when the next election is. And here is the nearest places in your area where you can go vote. And it's like churches, community centers, schools. You just go in and there's always someone with a barbecue sausage sizzle, no lie. And you get a sausage on bread and you wait in line and then you go vote. And it's really easy. You have like you can't write whoever you want. You get like, there's usually representatives of each party there. And we do have a pretty like dual party system. Like the Greens have never been, and we have a red and a blue, but the blues are right wing, the red are left wing.
That's the same here. That's the same here.
And the Conservatives call themselves Liberals, so they're the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. But when you go in, you usually, there's representatives of each party, and they will give you. There's like a numbered system. You can either vote whole party 6 votes, or then there's a 12-party vote, and you do your numbers, you order it like 1 to 12 or 1 to 6. So if you really like the Greens party, they'll be like, okay, put us first, and here is the order of the parties that support us the closest to like 2 to 6. So it's like, it'll be like Greens first, then the Animal Welfare Party, then Labour Party, then blah, 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 to like go down. So it's like, you can almost like vote, even if you don't like the other parties, you can vote to spite the parties that you don't like. So you can be like, the least bad option gets in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you can vote by mail. Like, if you can't get to the voting polls, you can vote by mail. If you're stuck in hospital, they'll come to you. They'll just come and help you and do it. And you just go, and like, you don't register more than once. The government just does it for you. They're like, yo, go vote. Do it. Even if you're overseas, they're like, yeah, just mail it in. It's fine. So it's just seeing these people like, yeah, I'm not going to vote. I mean, there are people that donkey vote. You know, they'll just...
Of course. Or they spoil their ballot.
Yeah, spoil their ballot so it can't be voted. But you still have to go and do it. So it's just like, well, if I'm going to go and do it, I may as well fucking, vote properly. Yeah. So, I'm the Leptoceratops. Sorry.
The easiest part of voting is deciding who gets the bottom vote. Then I work my way up. But yeah, good.
Fuck you a little less. Fuck you slightly less. Yeah, you're all right, okay. And yeah, I guess you.
Yeah. I want to talk about, Mariana she said, I'm against forced voting. And I asked her to expand. She said, I don't think people should be forced to vote or declare their support for anyone, though I do agree it's tactical to vote for the imperfect woman so as to not let the much worse man go into power. Interesting.
And I completely disagree. I think it's very important to have a compulsory vote, because then everybody's voice gets heard. And then people aren't just, if they want to throw away their vote, they can still do that. But you still have to do it. You still have to participate. I think not voting is such a shit idea, because it's just like, you're just handing your power over to whoever's oppressing or whatever, whoever's winning. You're seating, you're fence sitting. It's lame. I don't like it. I don't agree at all. I think I've seen this response. I don't know if you're American, Mariana, but I have noticed this a lot from America. It's like, oh, don't you feel oppressed? They make you vote. No, it's very easy. It's not a hassle at all. And I like being involved in my country. And yeah, a lot of idiots vote too, but it's just like, yep, we're all part of this country. Let us all vote if we're all legal adults. I think it's very, like, just, I hear about like this crazy, like, make sure that you're still registered and you have to register again and the polls are really far away. It's like, what the fuck? Well, then you choose the least worst, Mariana. Again, like, I don't like everybody. I usually vote for the Greens, but it's just like, they have shit gender policies, but,
So let's see, Mariana followed up. My issue is that forced voting forces you to select someone. What if you hate them all?
Well, if you hate them all and you don't pick anything, what have you done? What have you achieved? You're still going to be oppressed by one of them. Would you like to choose which one is the least bad, at least? Or you just want to throw up your hands and be like, nah, I'll let the rest of because the rest of the country is still going to do it. There's still going to be a decision of a voting oppressor. You will never, it's a like, well, if everyone just didn't vote, that would show them. That's like that logic. So you're never going to everyone just not vote and then pick a non-idiot.
Like, in theory, your vote could be the 51st percentage vote, right? That makes the decision in theory.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So what's the difference between that and not voting? So like donkey voting was just like, well, you still have to go. So there is still a possibility that someone's going to be like, you know what? I've come all the way here. I'm actually going to try and vote.
Lily says, so much is on the line for many of us. Not voting is saying, I don't care about my neighbor.
Yeah, your apathy is extending to other women as well. Again,
Yeah. Julie says, I read that if only 25% of non-voting registered Democrats in Texas actually went to the polls, Texas would go blue.
And the conservatives don't seem to have this problem. It's just like, well, they can be convinced of anything, but like they fucking go. They are very good at organizing. It's the same with gendies. They are fantastic at organizing. Because there are so many of them. But, to just not participate, to not have any swing or any sway, just seems irresponsible. And yeah, you know, I don't agree with it at all.
I want to highlight Renegade Pearl's comment. You should vote in local elections too. So many important things are on ballots that people just don't vote on. I think that's especially important in the United States because like fucking everything there is an elected position. Like they vote for their district attorney, they vote for their sheriff, they vote for judges in the courts.
Like, local elections are also compulsory here. So those turnouts actually get like a representative number. And there's usually people there who will talk about, on both sides, talk about what is being voted for. So it gets people out, it gets people like going and learning about the issues that are like going around. I think it's, it's very important to have compulsory vote. Because is it compulsory in Canada?
No, it's not.
That's weird. That's weird to me. See, I don't know, Mariana, if every option, because Mariana's saying if every option is all equal, when is every option equally oppressive? Like name an election where that's been the case. Because there's always going to be marginal differences, you know. I am a firm believer in, like left wing, right wing, the whole bird hates women, but there are still things that the left will do for women that the right won't,
Right. It's learned helplessness to not vote just because the deck seems stacked against your side.
Yeah. Well, then you're speaking of a theory that doesn't exist. I'm talking about like practical. We don't exist in a world where everything is equally oppressive. There are bad and there are worse options in a lot of votes, yes, but why wouldn't you try and vote towards better? Because your inaction does nothing.
Right. Yeah,
and a tactical vote for the less bad is certainly better than just like, well, my vote's not going to mean anything. Guess I'll just...
Yeah, I think also it's particularly, like, this is particularly applicable to the American system where they have only two options. In theory, they have other parties, but there's only the Republicans or the Democrats, right? Like, in Australia and in Canada, we have many more than just two parties to choose from. So, yeah, you can... Here, in any way, I'll just speak for Canada, you really can vote for a party that truly does align with what you believe or want, because there are lots of options. Yes, there are there are some main parties primarily who are going to get most of the votes, but other options do exist.
Yeah. And I just don't buy that this, like you're saying in all caps, but I don't think you should be forced. Again, you can donkey vote if you don't want to. But like it's like when you're used to it as a country, it's the same as just like, well, you've either got to be, we have a policy, you've got to be earning or learning. You can't just be a layabout. You've got to be studying, or you've got to be working, or you've got to get a driver's license before you can drive. You've got to do 200 hours. 200 hours is compulsory before you drive. It's compulsory to wear a seatbelt, so that you don't go flying out of your other car into someone else's car. It's like, well, I don't want to be forced to wear a seatbelt. It's like, well, we live in a society,
What about
this?
Does
it feel... Oh, sorry.
Purple Moonstorm says, what about people who shouldn't be voting, though, because they're too dumb and make horrible choices?
No, because who decides whose takes are dumb?
Right.
I remember I saw that on Tumblr.
That's going into fascism.
Yeah, I remember seeing on Tumblr, this was sort of this idea of, because they had this whole notion of like, boomers bad, us generation good. And they're like, well, there should be an age cutoff. Over 65, you're too geriatric to vote. It's like, no. What about when you get to 65, idiot?
Right.
How do you think we got the, women were afforded the rights we got? It's the women in their 70s now that you're saying you don't want them to vote.
Right, right. And this...
Yeah.
Like, what about people who shouldn't be voting? Like, also, there is a fairly large conservative movement right now wanting to revoke voting for women again. Who's deciding who should or shouldn't vote, or who is too dumb, or who's going to make a bad choice? A bad choice by whose standards?
I
That is
believe
definitely tiptoeing into fascism.
Yeah, I believe here it's as long as there are even like help services for people with mental cognitive disabilities. They
Yeah.
are also still allowed to vote. I believe there is sort of a cutoff. They have to understand what they're doing. They have to be able to make because an assistant or a support worker will go with them and explain, they can explain how to vote and they can explain
Mhm.
what the brochures all say, but the person still has to be able to make the decision. So, obviously they're not going to find someone in a coma. He didn't vote. But it's very important.
Great point from Existential Gamer here. People are behind those people are too dumb until they are judged as the people who are too dumb. There's people right now who think I'm an idiot for being a feminist. Yeah.
Again, Mariana, I disagree with your guest seatbelt analogy. If someone wants to do something that hurts them but doesn't harm anyone else, ba-bam, not wearing a seatbelt does harm someone else. What happens when you go flying through your fucking windscreen and into someone else's car? The seatbelt is a collective.
Yeah, if someone wants to do something that hurts themselves but doesn't harm anyone else, there's no reason they should be forced to wear a seatbelt.
Why don't we not just have suicide prevention then? Because if they want to do it, because we
Yeah.
want to reduce collective harm, and wearing a seatbelt, I chose that analogy specifically because people are like, well, if I don't care if I die in a car accident, I should be allowed to not wear it. Yeah, too bad it harms you too.
Yeah, like what about for this analogy specifically, like you get thrown from the vehicle and kill another person, or the first responders who have to respond to your mangled body who got thrown from the vehicle and have to be traumatized forever now because of what they saw. Like I don't know. I don't like that either.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Why should they shouldn't be forced to pay taxes. There's certainly problems with the taxing system in all countries, I bet, but who can be forced to do anything? It's such individualistic thinking. Okay, yeah, no worries. Sorry, I'm not trying to come hard into you. I have this debate with my fucking mum, who the chat knows is so fun all the time.
Yeah, and no one is like coming for anyone in this chat. Like Rusty and I just get like riled up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I have to do this debate with my fucking mum all the time, and she's like, well, it's informed risk, it's my choice. I'm like, no, mother. I'm good. Let me beat you again about this.
Yeah, so like taxes, like jury duty and voting is your bill for living in a community. Yeah.
No, Mariana. I think that prevention of suicide is very important because someone has to get to a very dark place to want to end their own lives. And there are a million reasons that someone might want to kill themselves. Their want doesn't exist in a vacuum. That they could be, I want to kill myself because I'm being abused. I don't think I'm worth it. I'm in financial debt. I'm stuck. Do you think, well, they want to, so we really got to think about these wants. So it's much better to work with a blanket, we're going to try and prevent this and reduce harm. Yes, I did say earlier, I hope men join the suicide statistic. I don't care about men pretty much, but it goes back to that, we should stop people too dumb to vote. It's just suicide prevention has to exist for everybody to benefit women. We because once say the suicide operators are like, well, if it's a man, just fuck him, let him die, whatever. The kind of people who would agree to that would also be like, well, this woman seems kind of mannish or whatever. Yeah, I think I'll just let her die. So it's just it has to be a blanket for all. Yeah.
Go off, Rusty. Okay, so yeah, Existential Gamer brought up MAID in Canada, which is medical assistance in
and people with disabilities have been they're like, hey, I can't get into my apartment because there's no fucking rampway for my wheelchair. Well, have you considered killing yourself?
Yeah. Let's see here. Hypothetically, would you care if a man killed himself?
Look, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I care about women. I'm sure I would be affected if it was someone in my life that I knew, because I think that's just like a natural human response. I'm not a sociopath, but you know, I don't. I think that a lot of men should be dead. I don't think that they should be alive. You know, it's sort of the only good rapist is a dead rapist sort of thing. You know, there's lots of men who do not need to be here. But when we're talking about, like, again, these are very like fringe feminist beliefs, and I understand that not everybody's going to support them to have a functioning society. I understand that not everybody's going to ever agree with feminist ideas, and particularly my radical brand of feminist ideas. And so I have to still live with all these people I disagree with in a society. So I'm going to choose things that like benefit all of us, you know?
Okay, there's something so funny happening in the chat right now.
Oh,
Lily
sorry.
asks, I haven't seen Maid yet. Is it good?
Oh, God.
Okay, let me address this. So there is a show on Netflix called Maid, which is about a woman leaving a violent relationship, and it is very good. But Lily, we are talking about this thing in Canada, MAID, which is medical assistance in dying. So it's like death with dignity, chosen suicide for like severe, like terminal illness. However, it is being
which I
opened
think
to people with mental illness, and that's what the big controversy is about right now.
Yeah, I suppose that would be the thing that I didn't think to bring up in terms of, I think that medically assisted suicide in cases of like, it is terminal, you are suffering, there is no quality of life, you would like to choose to go in a dignified manner before it gets worse, and like that's the only outcome, it is only going to get worse. I can understand why that exists. But again, it's being abused as we speak, with being applied to people like, I can't afford my bills. Well, have you considered killing yourself? Like,
Right.
It's insane.
Yep. Okay. So I'm so annoyed that things are we're having such a great conversation.
You got to end things short, don't you?
I could probably stretch it another 20 to half an hour. Anyway, keep going. Sorry, I'm gonna text you.
No, you're good. Any other questions, ladies? Anything else I can answer for you? From my specific opinion, obviously. I'm not an expert on these things. I'm speaking.
Hi, son. Hello. Welcome back. Am I wrong to believe in manstain-ry? What does that mean?
Oh, you're abstaining from men? Is it like
abstinate? Okay, I see.
Is it like a portmanteau kind of wordplay? Because I certainly don't think that's wrong. I think it's a very smart, fulfilling decision for women to choose to live life without men. It's just like, obviously, I'm a lesbian woman. I have manstinence. I have a wife, but we also don't have men in our homes. We've made a decision. We don't make male friends. I have one male friend that I've had since before I was a radical feminist, and he's a gay man. So we can connect on the homophobia of trans activism and stuff. But yeah, I don't actively make male friends. I am not close to my male relatives. We don't have men in our home. Yeah, gay men are often misogynistic. They're certainly not immune from misogyny. Their misogyny is often shown as proof that they're gay. He knows where I stand on politics, but yeah, he's very much still a man, and so we're not super close. He lives in America, I live here, so we have that shared friendship against trans activism or whatever. But I don't make male friends. I don't have them in my home. I don't. If there's a male cashier and a female cashier, I'll choose the female cashier.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not just killing them in the street, as I have been accused of doing by my webcomic detractors. But I limit my interaction with them as much as possible.
Okay, let's see here. I texted my client to see when her estimated ETA home is, because I was like, I'm engaged in something fun, but okay, she said, okay, we probably have a while. I can continue.
Hell yeah. Ask away. Yeah, definitely. Gay male misogyny definitely does get infantilized and swept under the rug. Nena, welcome.
Nena, she just woke up. Good morning, Nena.
Oh, Nessa, you're very sweet. I mean, you can ask me about it if you want. Yeah. I don't blame you, Renegade Pearl. I've walked out of parties at my women's college because I saw a guy that, yeah, like, what the fuck is he doing there? What the shit?
Good for you.
Who dragged this scrope bag in? Get that spooge rag out of here. I love male slurs. Like scrote. And Moid. I love Moid so much.
Moid is good, yes.
Welcome to the stream, Scarecrow. Oh, that makes me so happy, Renegade Pearl. I'm really glad, because I don't... I've made a conscious decision to not make many of the characters like radical feminists, but I certainly do push a message there, and I've gotten a bit of flack for it recently because, again, I've sort of been pushing like, hey, you don't partner with men. Are there physical real places mentioned? Yes, there is, because it is set in Adelaide, Australia, which is our capital of South Australia. So actually, for one of the chapters, I went around and I took, because I planned like a motorbike tour trip that Jaden and Riley went on. And so I went around and took pictures of the places where they went. Port Adelaide is where they were riding around. And it was also where I met my wife on our first date. So I wanted to like include that. So it's like only her and I know that that's where we met on our first date, but it's like, oh, there you go. Yeah, I very much wanted to make it Australian because internet's very American centric.
Yeah, that is so cool.
But yeah, lots of real life. So, you know, if you ever come here and visit, I can take you to the place. No, the
Lease Bound tour.
Yes. The bar is unfortunately not based on a real place. I was walking Rundle Mall, where it's set, is a very real place. And I was walking down this long, it's like a parade of shopping centers on either side of a road. And there was an empty alleyway and this old like archway and a door. And I was like, yeah, there could be a lesbian bar there. So I completely made it up. There is unfortunately no lesbian bars here. There's like one known lesbian-owned bar, but it's inclusive of everybody. So, yeah, unfortunately, that is not the case. I've been to one gay bar here in Adelaide, and it was when I remember sending you a picture, Radical, because I was all dressed up for it because they were doing a denim night. Right. And I was wearing like a denim jacket and a denim jeans, like, oh, going to my first gay bar. And I went and there was like 12 people there and all the others were men.
Oh, great. You know, I've only been to a gay bar one time and it was 2000. I don't even know. It was the year Lady Gaga. I was in the city to see Lady Gaga, and I went to a gay bar that night. So what year was that?
I thought you were going to be like, it was the year Lady Gaga did this. This is how I quantify my years by things that Lady Gaga's done.
It was 2013. Nice. So that's the one and only time I went to a gay bar. And so this was pre-Gendy shit. And so it was, I had a great time. It was like co-ed, like men and women, but it was prior to all of the Gendy explosion. So it was really fun.
That must have been nice.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome, actually.
Maria, my aunt, lesbian bars ban in Australia, essentially, yeah, pretty much because you are not allowed to you are not allowed to exclude men from places now because of the Tickle First Giggle, it's a stupid name, but the Tickle First Giggle case where a woman had an app for women to meet friends, a fucking troon got on there, a male, and he was told he couldn't be on there, so he fucking sued her, and the courts ruled, yep, actually women cannot have their own places. It was already happening in Tasmania. They're like, lesbians cannot have places without men that include men, and then, yeah, now it's like countrywide. But it was sort of like kind of already entrenched in law in 2013 when, unfortunately, our first and only female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, changed. I can't remember exactly what she changed, but she changed like discrimination, like sex to gender identity, basically. Yeah, I'm a little hazy on the cases, but yeah. So yeah, we can't do that. So the entirely fictional female-only fucking bar in Lease Bound is unfortunately not real. Yeah, basically you need a male chaperone in Australia. Yeah, you can't organize. You cannot explicitly say you don't include men, which is why, you know, there's I've been to a few like lesbian meetups with lots of older lesbians, and unfortunately some of them are political lesbians, but like it was basically an email system, so you had to know someone who was already going and then get put in the email group, and then they would give you the location. And it wasn't even like political things were being discussed. We were sitting around and having fucking food and having like a Secret Santa, but we couldn't advertise it in any way because you know, because then you would have to say like, you know, men can come if they want, you know.
There's some good comments I want to. So Mariana said you can't even host a private meetup. Not if the genders find out about it.
Yeah, not if you're advertising it. So obviously, you know, you can just have people in your home, or you can meet up with friends at a park or whatever. But yeah, if you're having any sort of like, we're having this rented space, we're going to make a group on Facebook to let people know about it, that we're doing this thing, you cannot exclude men. You can't be like, hey, this is a women's only event.
And what about this one? What about men's clubs or lodges? Are women welcomed in strictly male spaces? The thing is
oh no, Freemasons is yeah, Freemasons is fine. Strip club's fine. Gentlemen's club's fine.
Women aren't trying to get in them. It's the thing. Like women understand that those are for men, right? But we don't get the same respect.
No. And then there was like the Sydney bathhouse where there was like a female and a male one. I believe that's where the women were protesting, where they went into like the men's bathhouse and they were like, what's going on? But it didn't gain much traction. I think that's where that happened. Again, they have to organize privately. Like they have to, like I said, like the email groups.
Yeah, so
where you have to know someone to know who knows someone, basically.
Rusty, you and I were in a Zoom group, remember?
Yes.
We were members of a Zoom meetup group for lesbians around the world and of all ages. The point was for all ages of lesbians to connect with each other so that like young lesbians could hear from older women and vice versa. And it was also very like you had to know someone who was already in the group and who could vouch for you before you would even be considered to be allowed in. Like that's and that was just for online, not even in person.
Yeah, it's insane. Plum Plumey, could you do a bar that is only for women and trans men since they would count? No, because that would be acknowledging the female similarity. They'd be like, well, how can you tell if someone's a trans man or a true man? Trans men are men. And let the penis folk in, by the way. Now. Right now. Yeah, there's no way for young lesbians to find community. Is very deliberate. Yeah, it's very deliberate.
Yeah. I know sometimes like because I own my own home. I think sometimes of like how nice it would be if I could get like a women's reading / consciousness raising thing going on because it's private property, right? I can do what I want in my own home. Yeah. But God, then like the sad reality of the world though that we currently live in is then I have fears of like
people know where you live now.
Right. That and then it getting out and like I'm targeted for like vandalism or worse. Like I don't know. It's so fucked that this is
and they are relying on you to feel that fear so that you don't act. So they really want you to be dissuaded from acting. I am straight up not having a good time in lesbian isolation world. I'd like a refund. Need older lesbians in my life. Yeah, there was some women in that group, Rusty, who were like awesome, and then there was some who were like fucking nightmare. Like I was a little too radical for the group. You saw what happened.
Me too. But also like there was some members in that group who were completely racist, and the moderators didn't do anything
Yeah.
about it.
It's unfortunate because you think you're coming together with this one shared ideal. So surely these people will be as reasonably minded as you about, oh, she's saying slurs. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to stop her? No? Okay. All right.
Exactly.
I got to go.
But there were some really, really wonderful women in that group.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I still kind of miss. But yeah, we stopped going because it just got to be unbearable with like the all of this stuff.
Yeah. Poorly moderated. And even just, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't
like,
you can't be a moderator of something like that if you don't have a backbone. Like you have to have really thick skin and you have to have a backbone to like moderate. And that was not happening, unfortunately.
No. Which is just and that's just like a normal risk of a normal group, and then but it's like I guess there's this pressure to try and make it work because you're like, I'm so desperate for space where we can all agree what a fucking woman is. Like the bar is so low, my god. Yeah,
that was the only requirement to join, was that you are a lesbian and you believe that lesbians are female homosexuals
and female homosexuals.
That
and
was
even
the only requirements. So there was
even then it got a little iffy. I'm very sorry, Scarecrow. It is not different. I mean, racism exists everywhere, very unfortunately. So even if you've got like these women who seem like incredibly smart in other realms, then they'll just come out with like the craziest shit, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Unfortunately, radical feminism is not a filter for other bigotry and stupidity, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, collective sigh. I like Nana.
The trenches together, Rusty.
Yeah, we have. It's just you, me, and our DMs against the world.
Exactly.
That's our lesbian exclusive space. Has anyone else had experiences where straight women were afraid of them because, oh yeah, absolutely.
Where was that? Anyone where?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but not, I would say for me personally, not where it was like so blatant. It was like, I was like, oh, I should just be quiet now.
Oh no, I've had it very blatantly, but I mean, like, I'm a lesbian who's like, I'm 5'10", I shave my head, I wear exclusively men's clothing. I wear the quote unquote uniform, so yeah, I've definitely had that happen.
Oh yeah, two people are asking what's new in Lease Bound, Mariama and Plum Plumie.
I mean, it's it's going. I've been doing like the weekly page update for more than a couple of years now, so like been keeping pretty consistent. If you like ballroom dancing and lesbians wearing fancy suits and shoujo manga, that's what we're kind of doing at the moment. The fictional lesbian club is hosting like a ballroom night. The curmudgeonly old butch lesbian who owns the club originally created it to dance with her wife. So she hosts like lessons to dance for women, which was born out of this idea because my wife and I wanted to be able to dance for a wedding that we were planning, but our families don't get along. One of her brothers said to my face, he's not afraid to hit women like me. So we're like, yeah, we're not going to invite him. And then their family was like, well, if you don't invite my Nigel's son, we're not coming to the wedding. So then we eloped. But anyway, when we were planning to have this wedding and we wanted to be able to dance, we went to a partner dancing class. But it was...
See, this happened once before where her microphone died or her internet died. Oh, there she is. Are you there, Rusty? Okay, well, hopefully Rusty sorts out her issues. I don't even know where we were. I'm trying to reply in the chat to a comment, but am I here? We cannot hear you, Rusty. Oh no. She this has happened before. She has had issues. And I'm trying to reply to somebody in the chat and now I'm all lost. She was talking about Lease Bound. Rusty's been taken out by the Australian internet. Oh geez. Well, she's muted now, so maybe she'll come back when.
Let me be free. Let me speak. Let me out.
We hear you. Welcome back.
God damn it! It was her Nigel's son because I was talking about him. What did we last hear that I said? Sorry about that. We were trying to do ballroom dancing lessons. Wedding plans went out the window because one of her brothers wanted to beat the shit out of me, and the family was like, "Well, if you don't invite him, we're not going to come to the wedding." But when we were planning to dance, we went to like a dance lesson, but it was all straight people, and there was like women stood in one circle, and then men stood in a circle outside of them, and you were meant to like swap partners. And I was like, "Oh, I just want to like learn to dance with my fiance. I don't want to dance with any men," and she doesn't want to dance with any men either. It didn't go well. We like stood dancing to the side, trying to follow the steps, and the woman kept telling me, "You're doing the men's part. You're doing the men's part." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a lesbian. We're both women dancing." So that's how it came to be in Lease Bound. I was like, wouldn't it be great if there was a place where just women could dance and learn to dance for their weddings? So yeah, there you go. Hope I didn't die again. My God.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat.
Nah, you're good. But yeah, that's what's happening in Lease Bound. So if you're like, oh yeah, internet's so fucking bad.
It was even a political scandal. Oh my God.
Yeah, with the whole MBN shit. Yeah, they came into my home, but don't worry, I killed them all.
What is it? Male character disease?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, the male character. Well, because one, I didn't want to come up with a reason for why one character's dad died, because I just didn't want him to be in the story. I was like, well, what if he died so he can serve as like motivational fodder, which is often something that's relegated for female characters. And I was like, now, how did he die? I don't want to come up with a reason. It was male, and I just said in the comments, like, it's male character disease. Dusty, we can't hear you. No! Who can't hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
No!
Also, Rusty with an R.
That's okay. Dusty's kind of cute.
It is cute.
No!
Can everyone else hear Rusty? Because I can hear her just fine.
Ah! Don't get me like that!
Oh.
She's joking. Don't play me like that! I'm coming for you. But yeah, so that was the excuse I came up with, because I didn't want to think that think up a reason why a character died. And yeah, it's completely fatal and they just die. But I do get a lot of flack because I make a specific point to not include male characters in Lease Bound unless they fill a role that a woman can't, so like being like an abusive husband or something. Or to demonstrate that heterosexual relationships end badly, so I'm not going to like promote that in my comic. Yeah, exactly, Plum Plume. Because like, you know, think about like all the Disney movies where like the mom is dead or whatever. So it's just like a reversal on that. But people are very allergic to reversals when it's like, you you put the woman in the position that a man is usually afforded. It might have been my accent, Marima. Like when I say things, you never know.
Look,
hello, Arbostorum.
Hi, Arbostorum.
I give you little kisses on your head. And I have to bend down so far because she's so short.
Yeah, like me.
Yes.
Speaking
surrounded by small queens.
Rusty, last month I had like my full doctor physical, and so I got my height measured.
Oh yes, tell me.
And I have always said that I'm 5'2". But I officially came out at 5'1".
Oh, so sorry for your loss. What's it like down there, Queen?
Oh, you're so mean to me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to lean on you and use you as an armrest. I'm laughing too hard. They took it away from her. It's alright, you can always identify as taller.
Yeah, I identify as 6 feet.
Oh, then you can ride this roller coaster, ma'am. That's fine. The safety measures don't apply to you, I guess.
Jeez.
Couldn't be me. I like it down here, better balance. Hey, yeah, okay, but I can reach the top cupboard. How about that?
I cannot. I can't even. Okay, so in my kitchen cupboards, when I open them, like above my counter and my stove and stuff, I can only see the first shelf. There's still 2 more above it.
Queen. That's rough. I mean, like, that does come from, things being designed for men. It does actually suck as much as I love it. It's definitely something that I've never really thought about because, I'm 5'10", so, like, I can reach most things. But yeah, things do really be made for men, and they should be smaller.
Oh, yeah, men should be smaller. That's right.
Yeah, or it should be made small. Like, doorways should just, like, smack them in the fucking forehead. It should be all made for, like, the average woman height at the very least. La Bolsa, I learned English with you all. I don't even know a thing about US or Australia, but anyway, that's totally fine, dude. I agree, Nana. Men should get smaller until they disappear. Why don't trans supports accept transracials? And this is from Mariana. Probably because, men are included in the demographic that is affected by racism. But they are not included in the demographic affected by men identifying as women. So that's why it's misogyny. There are potential men that could be affected by, well, obviously there are men that are affected by racism, but in their discussions, they are very aware that there is a lot of potential men that could be harmed as well. Yeah. They know racism is real, but they don't believe misogyny is real. Yeah. Because that's just, whatever. Who cares about women?
Okay.
You good? You good?
Yep.
Okay.
They know racism is real, but they don't believe misogyny is real. What a point, Arvistorum.
Very poignant. Very poignant. Beautifully said. I love her little icon so much. I drew that for her. It's so
cute.
Cute.
I know. It's so cute. You've drawn. I have a picture of myself drawn of you.
Yes. Yes, I've drawn you too.
Yes.
That's how you know we're true friends. I drew a little picture of you.
I should put that as my stream avatar.
You should.
It's really cute. It's really cute. Oh, you've drawn me more than me, and then character inspired by me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're in Lease Bound, and you also I drew you with my character Panya because you liked that she was really tall.
Oh, that's right. I've been blessed with being drawn by Rusty more than twice, even maybe 3 or 4.
I have a whole folder of pictures I've drawn of Arbistorum doing silly little things. So.
That's so cute.
It's how I show I love. And you said that I draw you so cute, Arbistorum. It's because you are so cute.
Now I want to find where I've got that saved. I think it's on my phone in my screenshots folder.
Oh.
Let's see. Nana says, if I attend Pride next year, I'm going to buy a booth and just have a banner that says mean lesbians. And it's just me and a bunch of lesbians being mean.
I've never been to Pride. Well, I don't even think we have other Australians. Do we have a Pride? Because
it's Mardi Gras.
Yeah, but that's like in Sydney.
Sydney.
Who the fuck's going to go there? Not me.
Well, sorry.
Let's see. Sydneyans love New South Welshmen as because we can't call them New South Wales. They love themselves, and the rest of us don't.
Too funny.
We all have a state rivalry with each other.
Lily is. Look at Lily. She's a tiny, cute little kitten. She could never be mean.
Her weightlifting to be mean.
Yeah, getting swole. Oh, too funny.
I only know Sydney's gay and lesbian Mardi Gras and various trans celebrations.
Yeah.
And I know that was like, I remember a couple years ago, like a lesbian event was cancelled at Mardi Gras because it was like just about lesbians or whatever. But yeah, I heard about it from my mother-in-law who goes because she, my mother and my mother-in-law have this in common where they love gay men and think they're like so cute and fun, but they really don't like lesbians.
Oh, this is a great question from Hetty. And hello and welcome. We love newcomers here.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm late, but wondering materially what safety for us looks like if men don't ever change.
It looks like being separate from them. It looks like creating as much independence from them as possible. Because, you know, obviously we cannot guarantee 100% safety. We can only work in preventative measures. And again, unless we're just, you know, really, okay, idealistic situation, we release a virus that only affects men and they die. They all die. Until then, we stay separate from men. We rely on women friends, women businesses, women confidence, women professionals as much as possible. So creating as much independence from them as possible is the safest thing. That's my favorite bedtime story now. I'll tell it to you again tomorrow night.
Yeah. Something you just said inspired me, and I was gonna say something and now I can't. Oh yeah. Basically, so where Hetty said if men don't ever change. The thing is men aren't going to change, and we also can't change them, but we can change ourselves and our own behavior in lives by practicing separatism, by not involving ourselves with men. That's all we can do, and we should do it.
But that's a huge thing as well. Like, I think a lot of the divide also comes with a lot of women sort of hear that as like a very, like, that's a very hard pill to swallow, that men will not change. They have demonstrated that they either do not want to or are incapable. I think it's the former. They don't want to because they benefit from it too much. But our actions certainly can have a lot bigger effect than we think they can. You know, I think there's this doom thinking of like, well, if men are destined to abuse, doesn't that mean we're destined to be abused? No, we're not. We have agency in the situation, and that agency is separating from men in every feasible way possible. Yeah, a lot of the time it is an easy non-action. Obviously, you know, it's harder if you're financially dependent on a man, or you're, you know, you're still living with male family members or whatever else. It's not completely just walk out one day. But yeah, it's certainly actions that you can build up to very easily. You can decide to make no more male friends. You know, that is a separatist action. You decide to not have men in your home or in your room if you're sharing a living space with them. You know, there's all sorts of actions that are all steps towards more safety for you.
Just giving
Okay.
not yes right. Not giving males attention is such an easy non-action. Yes. Just say no to men. Right? Oh God, a group read of the book Manhunt. I could never.
I'm unfamiliar with this title. Fill me in.
It's a dystopian novel about trans stuff and
Oh, is this the guy who wrote about killing J.K. Rowling, like setting her on fire? Is this
I
guy?
don't know.
And then it's being made into an adaptation by the fucking Troon Wazowskis or whatever. Or am I thinking another
Yes,
deranged?
that's the one. Yes.
There you go. Okay, I was on the right deranged Troon scent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of group reads, I really want to start doing so. Like, I've just been having such a great time streaming lately that
you've been on
I
fire.
really want to try to do it twice a week, where one stream will be like this, like when we have a topic and we just go for it, and then another stream that week will be reading and discussing and analyzing a piece of feminist writing. So whether it be like an essay from Dworkin or an essay from Cheryl Clark or whatever. Because I feel like that's a good way to expose women to these pieces of feminist writing and consciousness raise. So I'm going to try and do that.
I like that idea. Yeah, because a lot of, I mean, like the free PDFs are a lot available, but I think it's less daunting to read together.
Yeah, of course. Yep. I have a list of all of the ones I want to read. So.
Oh, excellent. So I'm just also reading in the chat. Albert Storm says, I wouldn't read Manhunt because, like trans itself, it has the humiliation fetish aspect. They get off to us being subjected to their slop and being made miserable by it. Yeah. So even if we were to sit and react, like, oh, this is terrible, this is so bad, like men will find a way to jack off to it. So, you know.
Yep. Who's your favorite rad femme writer? So so here's the thing. There are the classics, of course, like the Mary Dailies and Andrea Dworkin and Cheryl Clark and Catherine McKinnon. They're Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde.
Who Cooked the Last Supper? Rosalind
Miles.
There you go. Yeah.
And then there are the contemporaries like Julie Bindel, Gail Dines.
Writer of Invisible Women. Oh, I guess she's not a radical feminist writer, but that's...
Yeah. But also, I think when we talk about rad femme writers, I think it doesn't necessarily... like, what's her face? Victoria Smith, maybe? Did she write Hags? Anyway, but also when I think about rad femme writers, I don't necessarily think it has to apply to women who write books. I think there are a lot of women writing great stuff on Substack and frankly on Twitter and Tumblr. I have a wide range of women I like to read, but I do have a soft spot in my heart for I like Susan Brown Miller, Shulamith Firestone. Anyway, I will say Sheila Jeffries. I love her writing. Here's the thing. She is an open and proud political lesbian. Don't love that. But her writing, and particularly her book, Beauty and Misogyny, changed my life. When I read that book, it 100% changed my life on how I approach the world. It gave me the understanding and frankly courage to be like, yo, I am not participating in this shit anymore. And I never, ever wore makeup again.
Yeah, because you used to consider yourself like a lipstick lesbian.
I know. I was kind of like a femme lesbian, and lipstick les.
I remember that. I remember you sort of being in the camp of like, well, I'm doing this for other women, so it's and reading that. Not bragging on you, obviously, but no, I do remember that.
No, I am not a perfect woman, and I have never been a perfect feminist, and I don't think any of us can be. But that book changed my life, and I changed how I live my life because of reading that book.
Yeah.
So,
which is awesome. Yeah, which is to say, you know, there is importance in not discarding imperfect, you know, feminist writers for the profound things they have to say. Because I know, like, Andrea Dworkin has said a lot of really outlandish things. I've even seen some other feminists criticize her as like she didn't truly believe what she was writing. She was just very good at consolidating other feminist thoughts because she had like weird thoughts about like bestiality and stuff, and she had a fucking husband and she was also a political lesbian. But should we disregard all the good things she said? No.
I'm going to link in the chat, and probably, I guess I will also put it in the description of this video. There's a great woman on Twitter. Her Twitter name is Lady Labris, but Ladie, Lady Labris, who has a Google Drive of every radical feminist piece of writing you could ever want. And if she doesn't have what you're looking for, I think she will know how to find it. So I'm going to link to her Google Drive right here in the chat, and I'll also put it in the description box of this video.
Maybe it could also serve as like a reading suggestion list if there's something.
Yes, I see Summer Sun is asking for that.
Yeah,
I will. Yes, I will do my best to get one up on my community tab on my channel.
I was even thinking of like a recommendation if like people want to see you discuss or read a certain passage from these books that they're seeing. Something to think about, because I know you've got a list of things that you want to read as well.
Yes, always, never ending.
This girl, she be reading.
She do be reading.
Excuse me, this one.
Let's see here. I saw a comment that I wanted. Oh, definitely good intro book. Yeah, Beauty and Misogyny.
Not the dreaded compet essay. No, you don't need to read it. Let me summarize it for you.
God.
If you are a breastfeeding mother, you can be included on the spectrum of lesbianism. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put this in the description box. Radfem Google Drive library. Okay, all right, it's in there now. Okay, so I need to kind of pack up and get out of this house because the clients will be home in a bit.
Yeah, no worries.
So thank you, Rusty, for joining me for this stream this evening.
Of course, always happy to come.
I love having you. You're the best.
Always so welcoming.
And the chat has been fire
amazing
today. Like every single woman who participates in the chat is so insightful, so smart, and always brings up great points. And I'm just so appreciative of everyone who comes here. I love seeing all of like the names I know and love. And it's like so nice that you women continue to come back. Like that's always it's so nice. And then there's been a lot of new names lately, which is like it's so great. I really appreciate it very much. So some wrapping up housekeeping I have in the description box of this video, there's links to where you can find Rusty and her work. So her comic Lease Bound, as well as her Boosty if you want to support her, which
Thank you.
In the description box, there will also be a link to the Radfem Google Drive library. And I think that's it. Thank you all for being here. Oh, Michelle, welcome. Hello and goodbye.
Maybe did you want to do comment housekeeping? Are you still doing that, or?
Yeah, a little bit. So like, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream as well when it's over, if you just hit refresh on your web browser and just leave a comment. I hate to be that YouTuber. I really do, but...
No, be her. A man would never feel shame for this.
Okay, you're right. Comments are so helpful to content creators, even if it's just something like, hey, this was fun, like whatever. Yeah. Or if you want to share some of your thoughts on the separatism that we discussed, the Twitter feed we discussed, Lease Bound, voting, just anything would be lovely. So thank you, Rusty, for mentioning that. And
no worries.
Thank you, Kumpumi. I am. Oh, yeah. That's what this whole stream was about, Michelle. I'm so sorry you're here just now as we're wrapping up. Thank you. Today's Saturday, so I will likely be streaming again on either Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday.
Nice.
Which will be Wednesday for Australians and Nana in Japan.
And Nana. Australians and Nana.
Yes.
All bases covered.
Yeah, so we'll do that. And
yeah.
I'm going to get packed up and get out of here so that I'm not here when my client comes home because that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
So thanks, y'all. We're going to go. Have a great Saturday night or Sunday day, wherever you may be. And we'll see you
Hooray.
next time. Bye.